Hello, and thank you for watching our presentation about the sustainability thread, which I held in September of 2023 during SAP's PLM Infodays in Hershey, Pennsylvania. My name is Klaus Brettschneider, and I am an environmental engineer by trade. I studied environmental technologies in the 90s, joined a software company because I was obviously ahead of the curve and too early to find a job in sustainability, and implement product lifecycle solutions since then. In 2017, I got back into the topic around the climate crisis, joined the PLM Green Global Alliance, and freshened up my sustainability knowledge at Harvard. Currently, I am the Director for Sustainability Products with Linx-AS, a system integrator specialized in SAP product lifecycle implementations and EHS solutions. To my surprise, almost all customer presentations during the SAP PLM Infodays made some references to sustainability and how their companies address requirements coming from there. So I asked the participants what they want me to talk about and adjusted my presentation accordingly. You will find what I was asked for or what comments were made on these post-it notes on the slides, and some will find their request and hopefully my response to it. The PLM Green Global Alliance is a community of like-minded professionals in the product lifecycle management business who want to push PLM vendors, users, and implementers to do more for the environment, to reduce the impact of producing companies and drive to a circular economy. The alliance was founded by Richard McFall and Joseph Voskul, both seasoned PLM professionals, and is open to anyone who wants to push in the same direction. We maintain a website with many resources around sustainability topics. We are publishing white papers and point of views, and we are currently publishing YouTube interviews with PLM vendors like SAP, PDC, Dassault, and others. There is an apparent push and demand from consumers and the public for corporations to be more sustainable and create long-term values from a business, financial, social, and environmental perspective. This push creates pressure from three directions and results in the drivers for corporate sustainability. First, there is the legislation. The public is pushing governments for more legislation to protect the environment and impacted societies. The increasing number of regulations, a 38-fold increase in environmental laws since 1972, challenged corporations even if governments temporarily roll back regulations for economic gains. The trend will continue globally, and more rules will create a higher complexity in product compliance processes. The trend toward more individualized and complex products makes these processes even more challenging. Secondly, there are the expectations from consumer and employees. The majority of consumers are willing to spend extra money to purchase environmentally friendly products, according to a LendingTree survey. Unsurprisingly, this buying behavior pressures brands and companies to provide greener products and define more ambitious company goals to reduce their impact on the environment and societies. While such advertising is often received as greenwashing, some companies have incorporated sincere sustainability goals into their strategies to steer the organization in a more sustainable direction. The challenge is implementing such a strategy and distinguishing it from companies that want to use green only as an advertisement trend. In an attempt to provide more transparency into an organization's impact, yearly environmental, social, and governance reporting was born, in which organizations document its energy consumptions, emission, waste volumes, etc. The expectation is that by reporting the year-over-year change, long-term sustainability goals can be achieved. The organization keeps itself accountable and allows consumers to watch the process. Third, there are owners and shareholders and investors. Organizations where the owner, shareholder, or investor are the driving force are more conscious of their operations and the purpose of the organization goes beyond profitability. There are plenty of examples which can be named where the owner or CEO demands from the organization to find and follow a higher purpose. Yvonne Renard, the founder of Patagonia, is a well-known advocate for environmental sustainability. He has implemented various eco-friendly practices within the company, including using recycled materials in their products and contributing a percentage of sales to environmental causes. Both Ellen Job and Paul Polman, Unilever's former CEOs, champion sustainability. They implemented the Sustainability Living Plan to reduce the company's environmental impact while improving social and economic outcomes. Also, the founder, Anita Roddick, passed away in 2007. Her legacy continues in The Body Shop, which has long been associated with ethical sourcing and environmental responsibility. The three drivers for corporate responsibility corresponds with the actions corporations are taking, what value they create for sustainability, and the size of the business transformation required to achieve these goals. Organizations that only do what they have to do to comply with laws and legislation will achieve only a limited value for sustainability. A limited business transformation is enough to be compliant. Organizations that are mindful of their reputation will only do what pays. The brand value plays into the equation, which can be measured and will allow them to make more considerable efforts and spend more money for more significant sustainability goals. This will have a larger impact on sustainability, but also requires a more substantial business transformation. Purpose-driven owners or CEOs have the freedom to make sustainability a significant aspect of their business. They will have the most considerable impact, but also require more significant business transformations, which may include changing the entire business model. Many companies are already on their transformation path and have gathered product-related information somewhere in the organization, ideally in a product lifecycle management system. If the information is structurally organized, it builds a virtual representation of a physical product or service. These representations are named with different terms in different industries. They are ingredients and formulas in the process industry. They are called a digital twin in the IoT world, or a model-based approach in the design phase in the discrete industry. These virtual representations have in common that they are organized around a data model with attributes, defined relations, structures, and dependencies. The data flow to collect and manage the information for virtual representations is called digital thread. It is defined as a data-driven architecture that links together information generated from across the product lifecycle and is envisioned to be the primary or authoritative data and communication platform for a company's products at any instance of time. The following 4 examples will show how companies have used virtual representations or the sustainability thread to address issues in the sustainability area. Not all of these examples are from companies someone in the alliance or I'm working with. Few are from companies we came across, but we thought they were interesting to promote. As already mentioned, the number of environmental regulations has increased 38-fold since 1972. The latest development in Europe includes regulations for extended producer responsibility, called EPRs in short. Even if Europe is leading the development to point the responsibility for environmental and social impacts of products to the producer, this is not purely an European issue. This is a worldwide development, and currently are 38 EPR regulations on its way, even in the United States. EPRs are not limited to restrictions or imposed conditions. Like the UK plastic tax, they may also force companies to additional reporting or impose taxes if certain thresholds are crossed. His Majesty's Revenue and Customs requests from every organization who imports or produces more than 10,000 tons of packaging material in 12 months in the UK to report about it and pay a tax if the packaging contains less than 30% recycled plastic. This requires organizations to determine the packaging weight, the plastic to packaging weight ratio, the recycling percentage of plastic material, and run the results against sales and import data. Almost no organization had this information readily available and organized, and most struggled to get them. Often, they had to reach deep into the supply chain to gather the material details and do manual calculations to determine the tax amount, or they had to outsource this issue entirely. Quite different when a company already had a virtual product model built out. Even better if the packaging components are already part of the model. The information what kind of plastic is used and if it was recycled has still been collected, but could then be quickly plugged into the model and be used for reports and cross-references to sales and import data. This has shown that organizations who have established a visual representation of their products can respond to changed business environments more efficiently and faster. And as Kathy had stated, sustainability makes PLM cool. A different challenge resulting from registration or label requirements forces organizations to not only document what ingredients and materials are in the product, but also to make sure that only registered products are sold in the defined jurisdictions. A good practice in the process industry organizes ingredients and recipes structured in property trees, and they are used to run compliance checks to make sure dangerous substances are not imported into countries where they are not allowed, or hazardous materials are transported appropriately. These digital models can easily be used to track in what states or countries a product has to be registered, to avoid illegal sales in these. A well-organized virtual representation with a sustainability thread will be the answer to Christopher's question. An old McKinsey study had shown that R&D in the manufacturing industry only causes 5% of the product's cost, but influences up to 80% of the resources and with it defines the majority of the environmental impact. Providing tools and information to the design engineers to make conscious decisions will have tremendous impact. There are several reasons why it is difficult to use life cycle assessment results in design environments. One is that the functional unit used in these assessments is seldom compatible with the product structure or the method how impact calculations during the design phase are done. And research and development departments today simply do not have the knowledge to turn LCAs into design approaches. Having a well-defined, structured virtual product model can help to overcome this gap, as the following example of a packaging company shows. With several LCA iterations, it was possible to identify the driver for the carbon emissions for standard packages and relate them to the weight of the materials. From there, it was possible to determine emission factors for the used corrugated cardboards. Packaging engineers are now able to calculate the carbon impact of custom-designed packages as long as they use the defined structure. With a design tool, they can determine the weight and material of the components and pull emission factors from their own cardboard database and from other LCA databases if it comes to other materials directly into the system. Be able to calculate the carbon impact of a custom-designed package to compare material and design changes allows the engineer not only to make environmental-driven choices, but also allows the company to provide the customer with the necessary information for their Scope 3 determination. This may not answer Derek's questions about the how, but it is an example how to determine the carbon footprint before actually producing. The advantage of having a virtual representation defined and ready extends also into other aspects of sustainability, like ESG reporting. It stands for Environmental, Social and Governance Reporting, a process through which companies and organizations communicate their performance and impact in these three key areas. The reporting process is complex and time-consuming because of the over 600 standards which corporations have to select from. Additionally to the typical ESG standards like the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, GRA, ISSB, CDP, TCFD, and others are reporting requirements from industry organizations, large retailers like Walmart and Amazon, etc., and reports for environmental permits to governments on different levels like wastewater, air pollution, etc. ESG reports are often very wordy, but contain also many measurable KPIs, like how many women are in management, how many work injuries occurred, what pollutants are emitted, how many greenhouse gases are emitted, how much waste was created, and so on. These KPIs are often aggregated results from calculated metrics based on business activities or measured metrics directly from electric meters, exhaust controllers, or other kind of measurements. If mapped from their source through the required calculations, aggregated into KPIs, and fed into the different inventories and reports, they also build a virtual representation, but this time of the environmental impact of a corporation's operation. Sometimes I'm asked what an individual employee can do to make their own company more sustainable. Very often with the undertone that the management is very conservative and they only do the necessary to comply, and if they should not look for a more progressive organization. I would love to work only with purpose-driven organizations, but the reality is that they will figure it out anyway. Everyone will have a bigger impact in the compliance and reputation organizations. Let's make sure that they really comply and that they care about their reputation with the right actions. And as Greta would push, just ask for a little bit more, as if our house would be on fire, because it is. Thank you for watching this voiceover presentation. I would love to hear from you on social media, where you probably found this presentation, or directly via email.